Ops. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Which is why I'm starting to think that the Call of Duty development teams are busy developing these games out of a psych ward. Yes, ladies and longs, it's time for us to once again dive headfirst into the world of Call of Duty. Now, for those of you who are new here, and judging by the influx of subs, I'm pretty convinced a lot of you are, since all the way back in 2022, I've made it a yearly tradition of mine whenever a new Call of Duty game's beta releases, we're going to be taking a look at it because these betas are kind of the catalyst that started my journey on YouTube. And look how far we've come. But let me tell you something. This is going to be a brief video because I swear to all that is good.
You are a puss.
Every single year a new Call of Duty game comes out, it just gets harder and harder and harder and harder for me to make these videos because for every new Call of Duty game that releases, it's just the exact same shit as the previous year, wrapped in a new name and maybe one or two new features added and not much else. So if you weren't aware, this time around on Activision's Milk Farm Roulette, we've got Call of Duty Black Ops 7, a game that's been announced and is systematically the reason you can't afford Game Pass anymore. You see, after last year's Black Ops 6, because that game was somewhat generally well received at launch, as well as having genuinely good ideas going for it, mainly stuff like the campaign in the zombies mode, much like what happened with Modern Warfare 2 in 2022, it's time we crank out a sequel as fast as possible to capitalize on the success of the previous entry. And from the looks of it, much like Modern Warfare 3 in 2023, Black Ops 7 seems to be heading down that same road, which is pretty sad to say. From pre-order numbers being at an extreme low, to all of the marketing feeling like Activision just repurposed the last couple of games trailers and put a new shitty filter over it with the brand new title, to the game making some bold decisions which leaves fans a lot more skeptical than excited, it seems to me that Black Ops 7 is about to set sail and travel all the way towards its failure. But of course, that'll only be something we'll have to wait and see when November comes around. You know what? I absolutely love the fact that they keep releasing these shitty games in the same month as my birthday. I'm starting to feel that these games are personal attacks. But of course, this is a video all about the game's beta, which started on October 2nd if you pre-ordered the game or got it on Game Pass, the service that nobody wants to support anymore. This service is profitable, my sphincter, and ends on October 9th. And this is a pretty interesting video for me because I'm pretty much going to be documenting everything that's happened during this game's beta and compile my thoughts all the way to the end. So let's start off from the beginning. I couldn't even play the game because some stupid fuck at Xbox made me download the full fucking game, but conveniently decided to not allow me to download the beta, and I wasn't able to install it from the fucking launcher because Xbox players can modify files, so I went to bed awfully pissed. Finally, on October 3rd, I was able to play. The beta started us off with 3 maps and 3 game modes, Team Deathmatch being the only thing that's worth a damn in the end because the rest of the game modes are just woke. And I probably sank like 3 to 4 hours into playing the multiplayer, and I will give credit where credit is due. This is probably the highest budget copy and paste job I've ever laid my eyes on. But alas, this was just an appetizer because, ladies and longs, it would soon come to my attention that zombies would also be coming out on the same day. And after a long agonizing afternoon of waiting, at 7 PM South African time, Zombies for Black Ops 7 was unleashed. And let's just say, there is a reason that this is the only mode worth waiting for. They added some new maps, along with an entirely different mode that I decided not to play because the description sounds like it could give me hype. Zombies was still pretty much fun though.
I don't give a shit!
Now listen, if my brief descriptions of each day wasn't evident enough, especially the part where I decided to just give up because nothing was changing, this is just such a nothing beta for what is probably going to be a pretty nothing game. But I do suppose that I should talk about the gameplay, and much like the rest of this video, it's gonna be rather short. Because have you played a Call of Duty game before? Then get help. Everything, and I mean everything about the gameplay is one-to-one the same, except much like your hopes of renewing Game Pass, they decided to take some stuff away. The most difficult one for me to accept is the tactical sprint. Not because I feel like this omission ruins the game at all, no, because I don't really think that this game can be more ruined even if it tried. It's just because that this stupid mechanic was so baked into every single fucking game up until this point, I just can't shake off the muscle memory of it not being there. At the very least, Omni movement is back. That's all I can really say about that. It would have been pretty hilarious though if one of the most advertised features of the last game was just yoinked out from this one, but much like last time around with Black Ops 6, it's still something I rarely use. I only just really captured footage of it to show you that it is still here, and that's pretty much it. Best stick to Max Payne 1, a game that released in 2001. Which is still a million times better than this new AAA game 24 years later. But alas, for all of my bitching, they did add something new here. A wall jump. so you can feel like Mega Man X. Or, to make it simple for most of my newer audience, the Mantis Claw from Hollow Knight. And much like the Omni movement, this is probably one of the most pointless features I've ever seen added to an FPS.
That isn't this, of course.
And I don't know if it's just me, but I really feel that none of the stages were even remotely designed to take advantage of this new mechanic, except for some blatantly obvious spots. But aside from that, everything is just the exact same copy and paste shit all over again. Yes, the gameplay is still satisfying and smooth, and all sorts of stupid stuff like that. I have to give credit where credit is due. Call of Duty does still probably do competitive PvP games the best, but that's really all I can muster. There's not really all that much worth praising when you consider that the last game did the exact same shit, and the previous games did that beforehand. The only saving grace, as you can imagine, is the Zombies mode. It's pretty much a skin swap from Black Ops 6 because hitting copy and paste is just such a fun way to convey your passion for making video games, but still, that copy and paste job is still pretty much the best part of this entire beta, and I can almost 100% guarantee you the full released game. We only sadly got one map to experience zombies this time around, so it isn't the kind of transit stuff that we saw in trailers, but I have to say it's still pretty competent just with this one single map. Gobblegum makes a return from Black Ops 3, upgrading weapons with different modifiers are back, as well as the workbenches where you can buy certain stuff like stim shots or the monkeys, and there's even a new enemy this time around like the Baldur's Gate 3 bear, with even more orifices to stick something into. I've said it before, I'll say it again, Zombies has been and probably will always be the best mode this entire series has to offer, but as we all know, I'm the minority of people who thinks this way. And once again, Black Ops 7 just proves how creatively bankrupt the series has become. But it would, however, seem thankfully that some people have started to get their acts together and realize this is a series that is no longer worth investing in. And what do I mean by that? Well, according to some online sources, the pre-order numbers for Black Ops 7 were extremely low, meaning that finally people are starting to come to the senses that this series isn't gonna get any better at this point. And I think personally, that's great to see. I don't think enough people truly realize how much influence they can have over a company if they just choose to just not pay for the slop they've been fed for half a decade at this point. But now, of course, we gotta address the elephant in the room, and that is Game Pass. Now, of course, Black Ops 7 is gonna be coming to the servers day one, but as we all know, Game Pass has recently raised their prices worldwide and is also starting to dabble in some pretty stupid ideas. And if the low pre-order numbers for Black Ops 7 is anything to go off of, I think it's safe to say that Black Ops 7 has played a major part in the downfall of people's interest in both Xbox and Game Pass, because out of sheer desperation and greed, in order to squeeze as much out of the players as they can and save their own sorry asses, Microsoft essentially is now just on damage control, and Black Ops 7 was the catalyst for it. Is this a good sign of things to come? Well, yes and no. No, because obviously Microsoft is still fucking over the remaining people who actually use their service and try to save a few bucks on brand new released games. And yes, is because if people decide to keep speaking with their wallets, hence the low pre-order numbers, we can finally start to see greedy companies start to fold, and we can probably get them to start getting off of their asses and innovate again for once. And Black Ops 7 seems like it could be the start of something like that. And that might actually lead to a bright future for gaming as a whole. But then you have to realize that the majority of Black Ops players are gonna be whiny 10-year-olds whose dads left them because they're annoying, and obese Redditors who think that they have the N-word pass and beats their wives when they get rejected from joining FaZe Clan, so the game is probably still gonna kick ass in sales, so gaming as an entire industry is completely fucked. Please let Battlefield 6 kick the shit out of this game!
Well, thought you could hide in that building. This ain't no Call of Duty.
And yeah, with all of that comes the end to our yearly tradition. Now, ladies and longs, I understand that this is a very short video, but unfortunately, Call of Duty is probably just gonna keep giving me less and less stuff to talk about until they actually innovate for once. But, I mean, we still have the full game in November, so who knows, maybe this beta just left a bad taste in my mouth, and maybe the full zombie experience and maybe the co-op campaign might actually probably change my mind. But with all of that out of the way, thank you guys all so much for watching. If you guys like the video, please consider liking and subscribing. If you guys want to support the channel in any way, shape, or form, you can do so by becoming a member or becoming a Patreon. And speaking of that, thank you to top tier channel members Poncho, Eric, and my brother RWSJ Productions. Thank you guys all so much again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, and I dropped my fucking mic on my chest!